Hey everyone, continuing for our graphs and transformations, we have modulus graphs. It's a fairly simple idea to understand, so let's just begin with it. So we have y equals to fx as per usual, but there are two different types of modulus that you'll be required to sketch. Either y equals to mod fx or y equals to f mod x. Alright, so as you notice, for y equals to f mod x, our input is now mod x. Alright, so I'll go through the simpler one first, modulus fx. So what does modulus fx do? Well, if you think about the idea of modulus, you're always getting a positive value. As such, your graph cannot have any negative y value. So that is the main idea here, is that any negative y value becomes positive, and of course any positive y value would remain positive. So let's say we take a very simple graph of y equals to x plus, let's say this x plus 1. Right, so initially you have this as y equals to fx. Alright, now when you have y equals to mod fx, you cannot have any negative value. So what happens is the change would be, now all the negative y values will become positive, so it's a flip upwards. Alright, and we call that by reflecting about the x-axis. Alright, because it's basically the same distance, right? From here to here would be the same distance from here to there. Of course, I didn't really draw it exactly, but that's the whole idea, is that this distance A will be equal to this distance B, and it's as such, the transformation is simply reflecting about the x-axis. Alright, this is for the negative values of y. For those that are positive, well, it remains as positive. Alright, so that is the whole idea. Obviously, if I were to now have another example, y equals to minus fx minus mod fx, then it must be negative value strictly, because mod fx is always positive, minus mod fx is always negative. We then now reflect the positive values. Alright, so that is the idea for mod fx. Alright, so mod fx will be y equals to mod fx. It would be basically this portion here plus this portion here. Alright, this will give you mod fx. Now, what about, let's say, mod f mod x? Alright, now here's a slightly different idea, is that when you have y equals to f mod x, your input is now mod x. Right, and it's no longer just x, it's now mod x, and your input is now always positive, right? Of course you can have 0, so not leaving that out, but now your input is always positive or 0, which means that if you put any negative value of x, you will always get back a positive value. As such, what happens is that any negative x value, right, becomes positive, and what happens is that negative x values would give positive x value, right? So negative x value becomes positive, and negative x value would give the positive x value and its corresponding y value. Alright, so what happens is simply f equals, let's say we have f mod minus k, would simply be f mod k or fk. Alright, so where k is a positive number. So put it simply, also f minus 2, f mod minus 2 is now be f2, so that would be the change. Alright, so what's the reflection is quite simple. So whatever that you had in the positive x side, alright, so from 0 to x, so label this here, and here will now be reflected as well onto the other side, because whatever that you had on the other side, on the negative x side, would have the same values as that for the positive x side. So what we have is this graph right here. All right, let me just, all right, I think I should